Hey there, Robert John Hadfield here. I have something for you today I think you're really going to like. I saw on my news feed just today that Kris Kristofferson actually passed away a couple days ago. I don't know how I missed it, but just saw it on my news feed today. And I wanted to show you something. This is so cool. I found this newspaper article written about him on July 4th, 1971. And this is before he won a Grammy for... what was his song? I can't remember the name of the song. Help Me Make It Through the Night, maybe? And it was in I think the next year. So this was as he was becoming famous, but before he became like the legend that we know today. You know, before he was in A Star Is Born. That was the first time I really ever became aware of Kris Kristofferson. I don't remember why, but I remember as a kid, maybe it was played on TV or something, but I saw that scene where he's up playing that in that stadium, and he runs off stage with Barbra Streisand, and he grabs a motorcycle and he rides it up on the stage. And I don't know why I remember that scene, and that was the first time I remember knowing who Kris Kristofferson was. And then, you know, over the years he was kind of that. He was part of that group of the outlaw country singers, and he ended up in that group, the Highwaymen, with Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Willie Nelson. And he also not only was in A Star Is Born, he was in all kinds of movies. As a matter of fact, I remember the last time I really noticed him being around was when he was in that. It was in the Planet of the Apes that came out back in, I don't know what it was, 2000-ish, and it was terrible. I thought it was awful, and I'm a Planet of the Apes fan too. I love the Charlton Heston one, the early, you know, the first Planet of the Apes. That was such a great movie, and even some of the redone the new Planet of the Apes series. Some of those actually have liked, but that one that Kris Kristofferson was in that came out some time ago was terrible. Anyway, so I found this article, and it's fun. People that know me know that I love this old newspaper stuff. I put a book out several years ago called Virus 1918, and it was just a whole bunch of old newspaper articles, and it's really cool. So I've kind of been fascinated by this stuff, and I especially love finding these things about people before they became who we know today. And anyway, I'm going to share this with you, and I think even if you're not a Kris Kristofferson fan, I think you'll enjoy this. It talks a lot about him. This is, again, when he was just kind of becoming famous. And it tells a little bit about him, things you may not have even known. Things I actually read through this, and there was stuff that I didn't realize until I looked at this. So anyway, I think I get a kick out of this. It's just called Kris Kristofferson. This was called the Democrat and Chronicle. I think it was put out by the Associated Press, because I found the same article or versions of it in a whole bunch of newspapers. Anyway, I just picked this particular one to share with you. So it was, Washington Post. So here we go. Kris Kristofferson, president of the Acolyte Guild, Golden Gloves boxer, Rhodes Scholar, janitor, poet, football player, top ROTC cadet, actor, member of the Honor Society at Pomona College, bartender, songwriter, helicopter pilot, country singer, Army officer, winner of 4 of 20 Atlantic Magazine's short story prizes, dropout, father, lover, star, and the biggest country songwriter to come out of Nashville this year. He has a series of contradictions. He's totally open and completely inaccessible. He's shy and gregarious, honest and devious, rude and polite, smart and dumb. He'll frown and he looks older and harder than his 37 years. He'll smile and he looks 17. He gulps on his laughter and bends over with delight at a funny story, and then he bristles with abrupt anger. There's a childlike quality about him which makes him seem naive and simple at times. Then he sings his autobiographical ballads, and the words are those of someone who's lived 100 years, hard. The door of the hotel room opens, and a slightly bearded face peers around the edge. "Come on in," says the deep, scratchy Paul Newman voice. And it's interesting because, you know, I knew him as the guy with from A Star Is Born, and by then his hair was grown out and he had that beard. But you look at those early days when he was clean shaven, and he kind of made this dramatic change throughout his career. So, okay, anyway, so a tiny dark room of the third-rate hotel on Madison Avenue is cluttered with magazines, a chest of drawers with the drawers opened, a small suitcase, and a large guitar case. Kris Kristofferson stands in one empty spot in the room, looking around for a place to seat his guest. Knocks a pile of papers and things off the bed, gestures to the spot politely, remarks that a crummy hotel it is, then excuses himself to brush his teeth. Last October, Kristofferson won the Country Music Association's Song of the Year award for his Sunday Mornin' Comin' Down. And in January, he was named Songwriter of the Year by the Nashville Songwriters Association. His Me and Bobby McGee, as sung by Janis Joplin, I think everybody's heard that song, is a hit song. He has finished 2 movies, Dealer, starring Karen Black, and Viva, which he will help score, and the last movie, Dennis Hopper's latest film. He is contracting to star in another movie about a musician. He is contracting to star in another movie about a musician, has been on the David Frost and Dick Cavett shows, and CBS News. His first record, Kristofferson, is almost always sold out, and his second, Silver-Tongued Devil and Me, will be released soon. He has just opened at the Bitter End in New York City, a testing ground for performers on the way up. Kristofferson is the son of an Air Force Major General. He grew up in and out of Brownsville, Texas, where his father was stationed frequently. After high school, Kris went to Pomona College in California, where he joined ROTC. Then he won a Rhodes Scholarship. It was a philosophy professor at Pomona who told me, this is a quote, then he won a Rhodes Scholarship, quote, it was a philosophy professor at Pomona who told me to do the Rhodes interview. I didn't want to. I wanted to get out of in the real world and start to write, but he persuaded me to do it. And when I did talk to those cats, it seemed like it would be a gas. It's fun listening to the way they spoke, whatever this was, 50 years ago. When I got the Rhodes Scholarship, I thought I was pretty special, and I got conceited. But when I got to Oxford, they had no respect for me at first. They thought I was a cowboy. Then I showed them by getting the highest grades in philosophy. I wiped them cats out. Isn't that interesting? Because thinking of Kris Kristofferson, you wouldn't have thought of him as being a scholar like that, but indeed he was. At Oxford, I conned myself into thinking I wanted to read towards another degree, said Kris. My whole life changed when I was supposed to take a boxing trip to France. The trip fell through, and instead I spent Christmas in California with my folks. I looked up an old girlfriend I'd been with in high school and got married. I don't even know that I ever was in love with her. And then, unquote, he never returned to Oxford. Okay. So then it goes on here. He joined the Army, went to flight school and ranger school, then was sent to Germany to fly helicopters. That lost its charm, and he volunteered for Vietnam. Quote, that was a bailout too. I wanted to get away, and I wanted to know what was going on over there. They wouldn't let me go and ordered me to West Point to teach English, unquote. Then he stopped in Nashville on his way to California, where his wife and daughter, Tracy, now 9, were vacationing. A friend had sent some songs to a publisher who said he might have promise. When he got to Nashville, he decided to drop out of the Army and try writing songs. And apparently this was actually kind of a big deal between him and his parents, because, of course, his father was in the military, and they had that kind of a future in mind for him, and then he kind of disappears and goes to try his hand at writing songs. And there's some people that say they disowned him at the time. And anyway, to make money, he worked as a janitor flunky at Columbia Records, then at a bar across the street from Columbia called the Tally Ho. His wife had come back then just before they were about to separate for the second time. She became pregnant, and a son, Kris, now 3, was born with a defective esophagus. With a $20,000 medical bill, he went to New Orleans and flew helicopters on oil rigs for 2 years, every other week, to pay the bills and the child support. He quit that job in April of 1970. when Kris's parents came through Nashville to take his wife and family back to California. They practically disowned him and told him not to contact any members of the family, for it would embarrass them. And again, this was him not living kind of the life that they had expected from him. He had no luck until he quit the oil rigs. He had no money and a large hospital bill when Johnny Cash started singing his songs, then Roger Miller. He got a large advance and his recording company paid off the rest of his bills. The legend somehow is that he'd gotten some of his music to June Carter, Johnny Cash's wife, but supposedly Johnny never even looked at it. And then again, you go back to these stories and they go all over the place, but I haven't had to work since, he said. I often feel like Roy Campanella and baseball. It's not like work what I do because I dig it. Every now and then I feel like I'm doing something serious. Kris Kristofferson is very popular with women. His manager, formerly Janis Joplin's manager, constantly protects him from phony interviewers and groupies. Women call him from all over the country. Famous stars, singers, and actresses follow him on the road, and he sometimes goes into hiding. The head of his recording studio tells people he can't write unless he's making it with women. And it's interesting because when you look at him in that movie, we were just talking about A Star Is Born, he does have that really kind of motorcycle bad boy image. And it was just kind of perfect for that field, at being a musician, being a country star, and kind of in that way kind of looked like a rock star. Anyway, so his song "Me and Bobby McGee" is the hit song on Janis Joplin's last album, Pearl. It's a song about two young people traveling across America. When Kristofferson sings it, Bobby McGee is a woman. When Janis sings it, Bobby is a man. It is his refrain from Bobby McGee for which he is most well known. Freedom. Just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. From Me and Bobby McGee. Samantha Eggar has been following him around the country while he was on the road, and she flew to New York for his opening at The Bitter End. His fan mail comes frequently from older women who praise him for giving their lives new meaning, for phrasing emotions and feelings they haven't ever experienced. He respects women. Quote, "I ain't no male chauvinist pig. Hell, the only people I ever got hung up on are women. They're different. I'm just going to get closer to a girl than I am to a man. A friend of mine once remarked that he had never heard me say a bad thing about a woman. I thought I've been in love several times. If it means waking up in the morning and thinking about someone and being miserable when you lose them, I've been hung up to where I'd do anything for somebody. My life right now is in a real gypsy state. I'm in love with a lot of people now. I don't know where I'll be tomorrow, but I ain't going to get married or anything. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. I'm very hard to be around for a long time." And that's interesting because he was with Rita Coolidge, and I think he got married to her. I'm not 100% positive about that, but I think that would have been like a year later after this. So anyway, I don't know for sure, but I think he was. Kris doesn't smoke grass. Quote, "It bores me. I've taken acid, but I've never shot up. That's a death trip. I'm probably the only actor in Hollywood who doesn't know how to roll a joint." The talk switches its direction again. His country accent thickens and fades. Kris seems to be trying to define the essential self that underlies his outward personality changes. "I'm not a chameleon," he says. "You wouldn't talk the same way to a longshoreman as you would to Henry Kissinger." Kris Kristofferson has become successful enough at what he does to invite jealous criticism. People can't understand how one man can excel in so many areas in one lifetime, seemingly without effort, without caring. And again, it is so fascinating when you look at the laundry list of just so many different things in so many different areas that he had done. Many say it's luck. He's been accused of climbing, using people, stepping on friends, but no one denies that he's making it. Says Kris, "It hasn't been all luck. I seen fire and I seen rain." After a recent performance, a woman approached Kris Kristofferson and asked him to write a note to her son telling him not to be a musician because it was too hard. He wrote, not quite letter perfectly, from Blake's Museum, quote, "If he who is organized by the divine for spiritual communion refuses and wills his talent in the earth, even though he should want natural bread, sorrow and confusion will pursue him throughout life and after death. Shame and confusion of face to eternity." In other words, kid, don't sell out. Anyway, that's the end of the article. And I thought that was pretty interesting to read about Kris Kristofferson, especially, again, right now, because he just passed away a couple of days ago. And here's a guy that did so many different things in so many different areas. And I don't know, I didn't realize all the divergent things that he had been involved with. And so anyway, thought you'd find that interesting. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow the channel. And with that, have yourself a fantastic day.